Hi, I'm Jim Hornsby. I'm Chumash and White, and I want to welcome you to a talk on healing violence and trauma through empowering your inner warrior. I wanted to first start with honoring the Kumeyaay Ipai nations. We're standing on their land right now, and I want to remember them and honor them. I also want to go with our first theme, love is not abuse. And what starts that particular theme is for me to talk to you in Smuich, which is my adopted language. Liia kokichwan, ahash is cho, hotwi maipe, hotwi alakoi maipe, hotwi konkanut mawa, sutich wowuk. What I just said to you is you are my brothers and sisters. I wish you good spirits. If any of you are drowning in your problems, I ask the dolphin to come to you and help you keep your head above water so you don't drown in your problems. So it was important for me to start that way because there's a consciousness about the inner warrior. I think Dr. Stan Rodriguez, who's a Kumeyaay professor on Siquan Reservation at the college that's there, he was addressing a gathering of people that were on the border, and we were there to demonstrate against children in cages. And what he said to everybody that day was that he was glad that the same tribe was here. Now you had pockets of people that were Latino, Mexicano, black, white, etc. And so we were all there because we didn't want children in cages. And Dr. Rodriguez said, we're all from the tribe that loves children. And you could feel a unity when he said those words to us that, yeah, there was different colors of skin, different cultures, but we were the tribe that loved children, all of us. We were in unity about that. And so when you're going to empower your inner warrior, there's some things that are really important to consider. And I like to include those in a poem I wrote that I'll read to you right now. This is called Carbon Farming in City Heights. And it starts with an epigram by a writer from Cameroon. Her name is Mbolo Mbu. A sickness had arrived like a thief in the night, an illness that brought fevers and raspy coughs, until soon death had grown more ruthless. They told us it would soon be over, that we would all be well in no time. And now I'll start my poem. Mother Earth, your brow is drenched in perspiration, wet with sweat, skin hot to the touch, and the ice cap is melting. The suits say that's a lie. They avert their glance from fevers, from children in cages, from water they've soiled in Detroit. When they ignore these things, it's a sickness of their minds, a poverty of their souls. So many of them sick in the Senate. One clod flew to Cancun when Texas was frozen in ice and snow. They only see their wallets. To all else they are blind. Auka, Haku, Aloha, Waka, say the Kumeyaay, my Chumash, Hawaiians, and the Eskimo. All indigenous are teaching that our relatives are dying or are being rubbed out, gone, erased. Like the wrong end of pirate pencils balancing big, bogus books. The scientists said there were too many elephants. Pachyderms were eating forests into deserts. Then they shot 40,000 elephants. Then those men in white coats discovered they were wrong. The forest kept turning into deserts when the huge relatives were gone. One biologist finally said, we were wrong. We didn't have to erase Mother Earth's huge children. And the cockatoo cried, damn right, you were wrong. Mother Earth, you are feverous. The relatives with fins are being caught in miles of plastic, choking the sea, the dolphins, the tunas, the sharks, the salmon, the rays. Mother Earth, there is salt in the sea from your tears. So many tears, Mother Earth. Mother Earth, I can hear your tears touch small stones left from fracking. Mother Earth, I am carbon farming in my front yard in City Heights. I've planted bamboo which absorbs carbon, aka CO2. I can hear moonlight flow in silver water down the hill. The moonlight song is the ancestors' melody. The words to the song warn. The ancestors sing the ancient song of the willow and the oak. Great Spirit, great mystery, Tukashila Kankanu Mawa, the mystery behind the sun. Help us bend like the willow and not break like the oak. When that strongest tree is uprooted or breaks in the hot or cold wind, the cold wind of lonely or fear, the hot wind of revenge. Help us bend like the willow, the deep song that Mother Earth sings. I had to stand up for Mother Earth in this talk because she's in trauma too. And so let's talk a little about the definitions of trauma and violence. So trauma is something that happens to someone and they keep reliving that event. When I got back from Vietnam, I was in my hometown, and a buddy of mine who was in Korea who had just got out of the army, I was in the Navy and I was in the rivers in the south of Vietnam. And so we went to a movie. We come out of the movie and the movie was right next to a fire station. And I was borrowing my brother-in-law's Scout, which is like a Jeep. It's kind of military-like. And the fire siren went off. I had just started up the car. And I ducked down. I floored it. He ducked down because he saw some action in Korea when he was there. And he was the one that snapped out of it first. I wasn't in my hometown. I was looking for a bunker because I had been home for 2 weeks, and the last time I heard a fire siren, mortars or rockets get to a bunker. And he reached over and he grabbed my arm. He said, "That's okay, man, we're home." And I kind of snapped out of it. That's an example of how trauma can affect a human being. People that have accidents, nothing happened on purpose, but maybe their son or daughter was killed in the accident, or their mother or father, or people that come back from war, or people in domestic violence, or people who live in a dysfunctional family where there's alcohol and drugs. That's where trauma can happen. Violence, the definition of violence is when you use physical force to hurt, injure, or kill someone. And so the inner warrior addresses all of that. You know, one of the things that's really important for me is to remind you that people can change. That no matter what type of situation you're in now, violence or trauma, whatever it might be, you have an ability to change it. Case in point, I've been working in juvenile hall teaching poetry since 2005, and I was asked to be on a panel to talk about not drinking or doing drugs. And so we're in this room, and I'm sitting next to this fireman who was from the South Bay somewhere, and my kids from my classes kept coming up and shaking my hand. And the fireman finally said, "Well, you know all these troublemakers." And I said, "Don't call my students troublemakers." And he said, "What's your problem?" And I said, "You know, I started teaching poetry to kids in lockups at a place called Heman B. Stark Institute. It was a terrible place. It was a teen lockup. And on every Thursday, we had a talking circle with 60 young men. And then on the other Thursday, we had a sweat lodge for 60 young men. And one particular day, this young man comes out of the sweat lodge, and his eyes are really big around. He looked like he was in some kind of a trance. We weren't sure what happened to him, and he's walking towards the fire. And the fire, when you're heating up rocks for a sweat lodge for 60 young men, that fire is really, really big. And he's walking towards the fire, and I thought, oh boy, I got to stop this. And I jumped in front of him. He called me Diablo in Spanish, said he was going to kill me. And Joey comes around behind him and gets him in a hammerlock and takes him to the ground. Joey saved me from being pushed into that fire, because that young man wanted to kill himself. So the fireman says, well, I don't get it. I said, Joey was in for murder. Joey saved my life that day. How did that happen? Well, those 60 young men, to participate in the sweat lodge, it was called the Red Tail Circle. They had to agree to no more violence in their life. They had to agree no alcohol and drugs. They had to agree to stay in school and get their education. And when they got out of the lockup, some of them already earning college credits and in college in the lockup, they had to go back to their community and help the young people in their community. Joey had changed. Joey was no longer a murderer. Fireman says, I get it. We all have the ability to change. And Joey got in touch with his inner warrior. That's a warrior of peace. So we just heard the theme, bend like the willow. Bend like the willow. The oak is the stronger wood, but in a strong wind or in a hurricane, it snaps or it gets uprooted and dies. But the willow, the first tree, always used in the sweat lodge ceremony, always, my people, the Chumash, we had ops that we lived in. That was a willow frame. The willow always bends. So that's what we want to do. Now, someone who's in trauma and there's been a perpetrator, someone who's been raped by a perpetrator, or there's been physical abuse by a perpetrator, or emotional abuse, or spiritual abuse, that's when a priest is behind the trauma. And I've had people in my family that were molested by priests. And so that can be a spiritual trauma as well. And the perpetrator does certain things to keep it a secret. So our next theme is you're only as sick as your secrets. Because the perpetrator will say, that was all your fault that I did that. You shouldn't have worn that bathing suit, or you shouldn't have talked that certain way. And when we're talking about rape and we're talking about sexual assault, it's a plane crash. No one would ever ask a plane crash victim, what were you wearing when the plane went down? You know, a victim is a victim. And so that perpetrator will make the victim feel like it's their fault. The other thing that a perpetrator will do is they'll say something that will make the victim afraid that someone in the family is going to get hurt. But you're only as sick as your secret. So you go to someone that you trust and you talk about your secret that's going on. I had a nurse one time that I was seeing in a private practice I had a long time ago. And she was 50 years old. And her father had been having sexual intercourse, raping her from the time she was 13 until she was 16, over and over again. And finally she stopped it by saying that if he didn't stop, she'd commit suicide. So he stopped. Now she's seeing me at 50 years old and she's telling me this. And so I said, was there a child abuse report that was ever filed? And she said, no. Remember, she's letting me know her secret. So it took us 6 months to fill out that child abuse report because she had a whole bunch of emotions we had to deal with. And so we finally got it filled out. I called Child Protective Services. They went to her brother's house in another city and did an investigation. Her father was molesting her brother's children, and her brother was molesting his own children. And we were able to stop that. You're only as sick as your secrets. So it's really important when we start talking about this inner warrior, it's about something that happens inside of you and something that happens outside of you. And so let me read to you some things that an inner warrior will be involved in their life, okay? Intuitive wisdom, listening to your gut, to your heart, because you can get confused if you're just trying to deal with your thinking. Listen to your heart, your gut. Exercise. I've run 16 marathons in my life when I was a young man. I was walking yesterday and the day before yesterday. Exercise helps you when you're on a walk or a run, or you're exercising, you're riding a bike, whatever you're doing. there's a thing that kicks in that is a problem solver inside you if it's at least 20 minutes and it's at least 3 times a week. It's like an inner wisdom that you have if you exercise, okay? Meditation, sitting down for 20 minutes and focusing on your breathing. I've had 9 different teachers of meditation in my life, and I kind of focus on a combination of all 9. Ceremony. If you can't find a sacred Inipi ceremony out here on the reservation with some of our relatives, I think you're smoking too much dope, because all you have to do is walk up to someone who's your elder, who's conducting a ceremony, and ask to come in. But they are going to tell you on that day of that sweat lodge, they won't try to tell you to run your life. They'll say on the day of the sweat lodge, no alcohol or drugs. Next thing, if you have an alcohol and drug problem, I worked at Indian Health Council. I know they have a great chemical dependency department. You're only as sick as your secrets. You can reach out. And so that's when you start having more of a spiritual life, when these things start to happen, okay? Dancing. September 4th at Verona, can you get some regalia ready and go dance? Maybe even win some money? That's part of, our traditions are really important. Each tribe has different traditions, but what are the traditions not only of your tribe, but of your family, of your community, of your reservation? That's why I love Pion. If you haven't heard about Pion and you've been living on one of our 18 reservations in this county, you're watching too much TV. All right? Get involved with your traditions. Arts and crafts. I've had young people that have been in a talking circle of mine out on Manzanita Reservation. This is a long time ago. And someone came in and showed them how to make a gourd rattle. And the next thing you know, they had this gourd rattle, so they started going to get to learn the bird songs. And the bird songs are a really important part of this whole area here. And that's a really important way to get in touch with your inner warrior. I think when you're doing these types of things, I can't prove this, but it's what I've experienced myself. I think the ancestors are smiling on you, and they're helping you, and they're protecting you. But you got to take the action. You're only as sick as your secrets. Respect. Respect the youth. Respect the women's nation. Respect the elders. Walk your talk by working respect for people. Treat them like you would want to be treated. Okay? Stay in school. Get your education. When you finish your education, that's probably the best thing about being a warrior nowadays, because one of the things that happened to me when I got adopted into the Chumash tribe in 1995 is my elders said, Jim, when the Spanish got here, there were 350 tribes in California. Only one tribe was based on warfare. And when we Chumash, when we went into new territory, we never killed anybody. We married them. So that respect is really important. I have heard from other colleagues who worked on other reservations in other states when I was working for Indian Health Council, that they would call up people who had been through counseling. Maybe they were being violent with their family, or they were being violent with their wife, or something like that. And the story I heard that was the most powerful was he did a follow-up call to a fellow Apache man. This is up in Arizona. And the Apache man was sent to the clinic there because he kept beating his wife. And in that follow-up call, the Apache man says, I'm not beating her anymore, but there's some violence that's still going on from me to her. And so the counselor was really good. He didn't start to scold him or anything. He started to talk about what's going on with your life. And he finally got to the issue. I can't read or write. And the counselor said, well, we have a literacy class here on the reservation on Fridays at 9 in the morning. Would you like to come and learn how to read and write? And the man started crying. I can still learn. And the man was in his mid-50s. I mean, I can learn to read and write now. Yeah, sure you can, but you got to come to the classes. And after that first reading class, all the violence stopped. You're only as sick as your secrets. He was too embarrassed to tell people he was pushing 60 and he was illiterate. You're only as sick as your secrets. So I have one more thing I want to read to you. And it's preceded by a story. One of the most sacred mountains in the world, I'm not talking about California or the United States or Turtle Island, I'm talking about the world, is right here in San Diego County. The dominant society calls it Tecate Peak. The Kumeyaay have called it Kuchuma for over 15,000 years. And speaking of traditions, when a Kumeyaay boy, Manzanita, Campo, Ipai, all those reservations over there off of the 8, when they would get to 12 or 13 years old, they would be taken up to the top of Kuchuma, and there would be a sweat lodge, there would be talks about being a warrior. And then when all that was over, they would be given some water that had to hold in their mouth. And then they were told to run to Yuma, a 3-day run. And when they got to Yuma, when these young boys got to Yuma, if they could spit the water out of their mouth, they were a warrior. And if there was no water in their mouth, then they had to do the ceremony the next year. Now, we don't do that anymore, but you get an idea about how an inner warrior is a warrior of peace. That wasn't about go kill somebody and show us you're a man. That was about, do you have endurance? Do you have the spiritual endurance to run 3 days through the desert after a sweat lodge? And then when you get to Yuma, another sweat lodge is held. And so that warrior of peace is what we need, because we have to remember that around 1900, the sheriff came to all of our homes here, all the reservations, and said, well, we're going to put your children in a boarding school and you'll have them back during the summer. We want to make sure they have a good education. What they didn't say to the parents of those children was, what we're about is killing the Indian and saving the white man that's inside of them. Soon as they got to the boarding school, their hair was cut. They weren't allowed to wear their traditional clothes, etc., etc. And if they spoke their language, they were beaten. Urine-soaked sheets were put over them. Tremendous abuse. And then the summertime, they didn't go home. They were leased out to white families from those teachers in that school. That's where our violence comes from. That does not come from us. That comes from the dominant society. And so violence is learned, and so love can take its place. And with that, I'd like to read this poem that I wrote probably before you were born, if you're in your teens right now. It's called The Gift of the Tree, in honor of the great Pablo Neruda, who is a poet from Chile. He won the Nobel Peace Prize. He's one of 6 Latinos that won the Nobel Peace Prize. So this poem happened as a result of a woman I loved, and she had to leave and go to another place. And then I had this dream. Pablo spoke of branches in the night. Branches found me in a dream, white-gowned Chippewa princess floating above Mother Earth, waving goodbye. Branches lay wise, loving wooden fingers on my chest, lightly touching, lightly loving, soothing as had the woman. Branches penetrated my chest, searching, finding, gently holding, healing my wounded heart. Dream gift of medicine man. When poetry finds me, I am always alone, sitting, watching like eagle in deep blue sky mountain nest. When images, paintings, portraits of my mind find me, I am waist deep in snow melt river water, washing, rushing by with wet, blue lip whispering words, soothing sounding liquid beauty, tears welling, rising, blessing peace. Above me winged ones singing joyful feather songs. When poetry arrives, companioned by grandfather wind, caressing my tired mind with grandfather love, grandpa tenderness. I hear words surfacing from some ancient sacred place, sounding sometimes hot like a forest ablaze with heat and thunder, sounding sometimes gentle like a child's sleepy bedtime prayer. Sometimes muse summons by shadows drifting lazily, cloud shadows wafting on windows of passing cars, like phantom horses floating down sand dunes from Pharaoh's past. Pablo might say this: I am summoned by branches of the night. My heart is very strong because of the words in my heart and the touch of the branches in my dreams. If you're urban right now and you're Native American and you're listening to me, you have a clinic in San Diego on the corner of First and Maple. And there's a couple of murals in that clinic for people who come there because they're only as sick as their secrets and they want to bend like the willow. And here's what's written on those murals. Come the day the earth will weep. She will beg for her life. She will cry with tears of blood. You will make a choice if you will help her or let her die. And when she dies, you will die. The other mural that I really like: when the blood in your veins returns to the sea, and the earth in your bones returns to the ground, perhaps then you will remember that the land does not belong to you. It is you that belongs to this land. I hope that I will see you out here on the reservation sometimes. I'm out here all the time. Or I hope I'll see you at First and Maple, because I know you'll be a brother and sister who's decided that you're not going to be as sick as your secrets anymore, that you can bend like the willow. Li'iaka Kichwan, thank you for listening.
Miriam, we are the Uwaiwish Girls Group.
Welcome to the Empowering Native Wellness Reconnecting to Your Sacredness event. Hi, my name is Jaylene Walsh, and I'm from the La Jolla Band of Listeño Indians, and one of my interests is listening to music.
Miriam, Natong Marlise Howard Yaka, Non La Joyangai. Hello everyone, my name is Marlise Howard, and one of my interests includes singing.
Miriam, my name is Shia Walsh. I'm from La Jolla Band of Listeño Indians, and one of my interests are hanging out with friends and family.
Miyu, I'm Mary Pojas. I'm from La Jolla Band of Listeño Indians, and one of my interests is playing sports. Miyu, my name is Nishin Pojas, and I'm from La Jolla Band of Listeño Indians, and one of my interests is baking.
The Uwaiwish Girls Group was founded by the Avelica program Safety for Native Women here on the La Jolla Indian Reservation. We covered topics such as the Healthy Relationship Bill of Rights, which we'll be elaborating on today.
The information that we will be sharing can also be found at strongheartsnativehelpline.org.
You have rights in your relationship, everyone does, and those rights can help you set boundaries that should be respected by all partners in a healthy relationship. Like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Healthy Relationship Bill of Rights cannot be taken away regardless of gender or sexual identity. The Healthy Relationship Bill of Rights are the following. You have the right to privacy both online and off.
You have the right to feel safe and respected.
You have the right to participate in your culture and practice your spirituality.
You have the right to decide who you want to date or not date.
You have the right to say no at any time, to sex, to drugs or alcohol, to a relationship, even if you said yes before.
You have the right to hang out with your relatives and friends and do things you enjoy without your partner getting jealous or controlling.
You have the right to end a relationship that isn't healthy or right for you.
You have the right to live free from violence and abuse.
Marlise, who would you go to if you found yourself in an abusive relationship?
I would go to a family member that I really trust, or a really close friend, or someone I trust and look up to who's older than me.
What about you, Jaylene? I would go to someone that I'm close with or someone that I know has been through it. Who would you go to?
A close friend or a close family member that I can trust to not tell anybody or not to judge me.
What about you? What right stood out to you? And who would you go to if you found yourself in an abusive or unhealthy relationship? There are many local resources such as the Avelica Program, Strong-Hearted Native Women's Coalition, Indian Health Council Peace Between Partners,
Kauai Consortium, San Pasqual Women's Resource Center, Santa Isabel Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Program,
Southern Indian Health Council Revive Program, Palma Domestic Violence Program, and remember, everything we shared is also available at strongheartsnativehelpline.org.
Thank you for joining us for the Reconnecting to Your Sacredness event.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Paul Gonzalez. I'm from Santa Isabel Ipai Nation. Working here at the Indian Health Council as a tribal practices coordinator for the Tippy Week program. We're doing a little thing for the Native connections, reconnecting to your sacredness. And I was asked to do some drumming. We did some drumming with our drummers and to talk a little bit about the drum and why we do this. And so it's been my experience that the drum, what I was taught, is that it's the oldest instrument to man today, and it's been used for centuries and centuries for prayer, for entertainment, for these things like that. So our drum, when we drum, we're not a southern drum or a northern drum or anything like that, because there's different drums like that. We are a prayer drum. We sing prayer songs, and the songs that we sing are offered to the Creator in hope that He hears our prayers and answers us that way, so we connect with the Creator and the Spirit helpers. So I know that too, that in order to be on the drum, there's no gray area. You have to be sober. There's no use of drugs, no use of weed, everything like that, no alcohol. And sometimes with people, because we're humans, we do make mistakes and we slip sometimes, and if a person does that, then they're asked to go away from the drum for a little bit and come back, either go sweat, go to church, whatever it is they need to do to get right again and come back to the drum. So we always want them to come back, because the drum is a way of life. It's a way of support for each other, supporting each other. It's got power within that drum, and a lot of people don't understand why sometimes they're actually attracted to the drum. A lot of people go to powwows and hear the drum and they start going right towards where the drum sound is coming from, and because the sound they hear is sort of like this. So they hear that sound and they're attracted to that sound. You can't figure out, why am I attracted to that sound? Well, what's happening is all of us experience that, no matter if you're native or not. When we're in our mother's womb, we hear that sound. It's a heartbeat. So I was taught it's the heartbeat of Mother Earth. So we hear that, and everybody's attracted to that because it's comforting, it's calming, and it sends that signal out that it's safe place to be. So they hear that. The other thing that we do with this drum is that, it helps people walk in a better way, to get straight, to get sober, and then go into other things, maybe other ceremonial things or not. But the drum is very special in healing in that way, and that's why we do that here at the clinic. And we have drum practice every Monday at 4:30 at the Behavioral Health Building. And usually we like to have people call ahead of time to make sure we're still having it. So we want people to come out here for no reason, make sure we're still having it. And everybody's welcome to come join. We are called the Many Nations Drum Group. We're from different reservations. And we also have other nationalities that join the drum group because what we were taught is that we're all created God's children. And we support each other that way, in a good way like that. So that's the drum is the power. It's the way to connect to the spirit helpers and to the Creator when we're saying our prayers and sending prayers out there for people that are sick, for people that have passed away, for people that are going through grief and loss, and a lot of times what we've been taught too is like when a person loses a family member or somebody close to them, they're supposed to grieve for a whole year and not allowed to drum or sing or do anything. And during these times have changed, and a lot of people cut their hair when somebody passes away, and the way things are going today, we'd be bald because there's so many people are passing away left and right out there, from everything that's going on today. And so I was told that it's okay if you want to drum, if you want to rattle, if you want to do it, because you get the support from the group and feel that energy come back into your body to help you. Because a lot of times people will go through these things and turn to something else to relieve that grief and that pain. And so I'm just offering this drum that we do to help in many ways like that. There's the support to get your strength up, because you got to have strength to grieve too. And if you get too weak, then things can happen, and negative things can happen. So come on out. This is a support group. It's a way of life. It's been going on for thousands and thousands of years, and it's a positive activity where people can get involved with and turn their lives around and help make them stronger spiritually, mentally, and physically like that, in a good way like that. So just want to share that about the drum. Thank you.
I'm Mario Acosta II. I'm from Rincon, Luceño tribe, descendants, San Luis Rey. So basically the drum, I've been drumming for 11 years now. My mom, she came to me and she knew I always wanted to drum, so she's like, hey, Paul at work wants to know if you want to drum. He does a drum group. I was like, yeah. So it was just Paul, Ty, and Leland, and Roland. And so I came and I started drumming with them ever since. So I liked it, and I've been drumming for 11 years. And we used to drum in that little room right over there. And that's where we first started. And then from there it went on. But like I was saying, there's days where like I'm in a bad mood or there's something going on with me, and my family can feel it, and they can see like, hey, what's wrong, what's up? And all of a sudden I'll go drum, and all of a sudden we put all our medicine and everything into that drum, because I come from the medicine people. My ancestors, my uncle, we used to I live on the other side of Rincon, Harris, the bridge, and so there used to be a medicine man that lived way in the back. So we're kind of related to him and my ancestors. But when we put our whole medicine and everything onto the drum, and when we do the honor song, right when we hit it, it's people say they could feel it. So it's pretty cool, because for me it helps me be good and happy. And like I said, when I drum, I'll be having a bad day, and then all of a sudden after I'm drumming, I'm like, I feel better. I feel good because I got everything off. And we pray to the ancestors, and the ancestors help us, with the prayers, and they help us with everything that's around us. So that's what I'm saying. I love the drum, and when I was younger, I've always wanted to drum. My uncle was a drummer. He used to drum with Jack and all that stuff, and Paula. So that's how I got into this. But ever since then, I've been going on trips, doing gigs, gatherings, and a lot of people said that they like us drumming. They could feel the energy, There was one time we went to Anna's Park at Raleigh Center. They're having a pig out, and the guy said that everybody was in a bad mood, and everybody was like, oh, bad, da, like all this other stuff. Well, when we started drumming, everybody, like, they say, man, everybody's happier now, because they could feel the energy, the medicine that went through. It's like a wave. So everybody was all happy, having fun, having a good time, and that's a good thing that we like. We don't do it for the money. We don't do it for anything like that. We do it to heal people, to give the medicine to the people that need it, So that's why we drum. We always tell people we're not a powwow drum, we're a prayer drum, we're a medicine drum, and that's what we do. We do prayer songs for people. So, But I love it, and I'm always gonna stick with it. And it was cool because Paul, I had a stick that I used to drum with, and I was like, oh, he goes, if you can fix it, you can have it. So my stick's in the car, but I made it myself, and I have my stick and everything. So I redid it, and I've been using it ever since. So, like I said, it's just like you said, it's the heartbeat. Even when you do a sweat, you go in, you come out, you change, you feel like you came out of the womb. So everything that we do is for healing and to feel better and to help others around. So just want to say thank you guys, for coming out and everything else. It means a lot to us because we do want to get this drumming out there and to see what we do and how it helps other people out. So that's why we want to do this, for other people. But thank you so much.